You know, it's a funny thing about pride. When your heart is full of pride, you try to write your own prescriptions. And you start saying things like, well, if they apologize, or, well, if they come to me, well, if they this and if they that. But what if God isn't going to heal you on your terms? What if he isn't going to set everything up to be convenient? What if the command that God gives you is to do something that to you seems insignificant and foolish and embarrassing and humiliating? What if God gives you something to do that seems beneath you? Naaman said, the Jordan River, and he went away angry and said, here's the two words that get me in trouble. Verse 11, I thought. Do you know how many times those two words have stood between me and peace? I thought. You know how many times those two words have stood between me and joy? I thought. How much longer are you going to worship at the altar of what you thought? What if God wants to do it a different way? What if God wants to do it in a process, not in a moment? Look, Naaman expected it to go a certain way. I thought he would surely come out to me. He would come to me. He's supposed to come to me. I'm a great man. People come to me. And I thought he would stand and call on the name of the Lord his God. I thought he would wave. He was supposed to wave his hand over the spot and cure me of my leprosy. But see, that wasn't the spot that God was aiming for. God wasn't trying to heal Naaman's skin as much as he was trying to create faith in Naaman's heart. That's why I went off, because I misunderstood what God was trying to do in that moment. I went off because I got so much more concerned about how I looked in the situation than what God was trying to do through it. And the message today is for somebody who is about to go off. You're sick of it. I don't have to put up with this. Do they know who I am? Naaman said, do you know my name, man? All right, I'll retire the jokes. I'll just stick to the Bible. Are not Abana and Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? I got my prejudice. I got my preference. I got my convenience. I got my thoughts. I got my plan. I got my script. Couldn't I wash in them and be cleansed? So watch what Naaman did. He turned and went off. Literally, he went off in a rage. And thank God when he speaks to you in those moments and interrupts you from going off and going back home. Going home unhealed because you were unwilling to be humbled. And Naaman's servants came to him. Look what they did. They went to him and said, my father, sir, dude, if the prophet told you to do some great thing, would you not have done it?
Well, yes, because I am a
great man. And great. Then how much more when he tells you, wash and be cleansed? Can I tell you something? God's not trying to cure your condition or fix your situation. He's trying to make you whole on the inside. So, this is how God showed me, Holly. He came for a cure, but he went home cleansed. And sometimes what we come for is not what we leave with. And watch what he did next, verse 14. So Naaman went down. That's the only way he's going to get healed. He went down and dipped himself in the Jordan, that muddy river that meant so much to the nation Israel, of Israel, but meant nothing to Naaman. And he dipped himself in the Jordan 7 times. And the first time he dipped, let me assure you, nothing got better. And the second time he dipped, let me assure you, his spot looked exactly the same. And the third time he dipped, his skin didn't grow any lighter or darker. And the fourth time he dipped, nothing happened to indicate that he was doing the right thing. And the fifth time he dipped, do you get the point? Nothing happened. The sixth time that he dipped, he wondered, did this man send me down here to make a fool of me? Because God wants to know, do you trust me enough to stay in the process when you cannot see the proof? Sometimes I am going to need you to go in before you go off, to go into my presence, to go into my word, to seek me for wisdom, to seek my will. And when it doesn't seem like it's working, it's gonna take all 7 times. But if you keep going off on the third dip, when you keep going off when you don't feel appreciated or confirmed or validated, if you keep going off, you are gonna go home with the same condition that you came to church with. But if you go in and come into my presence with thanksgiving and enter my courts with praise, if you will go in and worship me and go through the motions when you don't feel like it's working, and trust me and humble yourself, I'll lift you up. Stand to your feet. And after his 7th dip in the Jordan, as the man of God had told him, his flesh was restored. And watch this, he became clean. It was more than just his skin. It was his soul. To know that you've got to embrace God's process to experience his promise. And the great man, Naaman, came out of the Jordan with his skin restored like a young boy. The great man became like a young boy. That's about faith, my friend. And I admire Naaman because he went. And I relate to Naaman because he almost left. There have been so many times in my life that God has spoken something to me that it almost seemed too simple. It was almost offensive to me. There's times where he spoke to me to let something go I was holding on to. There's been times where he wanted me to go to someone and take responsibility for my part in a relational conflict. There's been times in my life where he wanted me to own a dysfunction that I kept trying to justify and explain away. And I can only tell you this from experience, is that like Naaman, what I found is that the cleansing comes in the process. It comes when you get down in that water that seems muddy to you and start doing the dirty work of saying, this is what it is. This is what it is. This is me, and the way that I respond and react, I can't keep blaming it on my environment. I can't just stay in this position where I'm fighting all the time. So I'm going down, I'm going in. In fact, lift your hands in the presence of the Lord right now. It's the posture of surrender. And healing only comes through surrender in the presence of God. And you can't receive God's transformation on your terms, so you got to get your hands up high. You got to know where your help comes from today. You got to know that the healing power of Jesus is available to you in every moment. It's not something you can achieve by might or by power. It must be received by his Spirit.
Hey, thanks for watching. Make sure to click the subscribe button on your screen so we can notify you whenever we release new content. Go ahead and subscribe now. I'll see you next time.